My mic is on. Ready? Hi, good afternoon, good evening to the July 22nd Board of Directors for the Pine Mill Ranch Homeowners Association. We have a very small in-house crowd today. I'm hoping that's because it's summertime. Um, we do have this going out on video because we're trying to continue our commitment to transparency and availability. I'm going to ask that a consolidated brief version of these minutes get distributed in a notice to the employees or to the homeowners, because we do have a few things coming up that I do want to discuss before we move into officers um, reports. I guess we need to call for quorum. Madam Secretary, we have quorum. In attendance today, we have Beth Cruikshank, our secretary. Ed Hyde to my right is our treasurer. I'm the president, Frank Cano, and to my left is Mary Zaragoza. She is our community rep from Inframark. So some great things are going on right now. We're continuing to stay on top of things from a fiduciary perspective. When we get into Ed's report in a moment, we are in the black. If you recall from a year ago, our budget plan was to transfer an additional $100,000 into this year's P&L to support capital projects. I'm pleased to say that some things have come in under budget, and our other income is above budget. Most of that coming from higher interest rates in the T-bill market, where we're actively managing excess funds. And so I don't think that we're going to need to do a transfer this year. That may take us slightly black or slightly red at the end of the year, but that way our year-over-year comparisons will be more consistent. I do also want to announce that Ed currently is not looking at his term expires, and so we want to start early by communicating with the neighborhood that we are looking for people with financial skills to take over the hands of the treasurer's position. Also, on top of that, first of all, I want to say thank you to Ed. He's done a phenomenal job. Our operating costs from when he came on dropped about 140 per year. Okay, you want me to hold from the beginning? Okay. All right, we're going to pause for technical difficulties. Okay. Okay, we're good. Okay.
Yeah, Nancy said she can't see it.
Can
Can
she see the?
It makes you open it's going to make you open the app. You can't see it from Facebook.
Okay. So if you're in the app, you can see that if you're listening. So I was just getting to the part where I was thanking Ed for his phenomenal work. Our annual operating expenses, I think we had about a one-time pickup of about $140,000. We've been able to maintain that throughout his term. About a year and some change ago, we were able to secure our funds either in FDIC insured accounts or in treasury bills, and we're actively managing. We're doing our own treasury management, and we're spinning off $70,000 to $100,000 a year in interest on excess capital or unused capital. And he's just done a great job. Also, in knocking down deferred maintenance, so inspections and maintenance and repairs and wholesale fixing of stuff that needed to get done. Ed has done a phenomenal job, and I just want to thank him for that job. And so I'm gonna let him get to his report in a moment, but I'm gonna follow the agenda. I do want to say one of the things, just so that individuals know what kind of we're working on right now. We are looking at, with Inframark, creating a calendar for material inspections. So structural inspectors, engineers to inspect the pier, for example, on an annual basis. Our playgrounds, probably every 4 times a year, every 3 months. Those things have a lot of wear and tear, and we don't want to see kids get hurt. But in general, our entire operation we're looking to create a schedule. If we don't already have a maintenance schedule, we'll have an inspection schedule, we'll have a maintenance schedule. We're also looking at, and we're going to vote on, I think today, altering our reserve study process where we move to a 3-year rolling system. These are all, and other things that we're working on. The intention is to have continuity for the board. So as board members come in and leave, there's a system that supports their decision making as we move through time. So some of the things that we're going to be talking about are putting into our budget. That's why we're doing it, so that individuals that come in can be a true board instead of being necessarily having to depend on skills to manage it, more of an oversight role. I think that's probably the healthiest thing, given that our financial performance has been as strong as it has been. So we've had our call to order. Yes, the next thing that we need to do is approve the prior minutes. But if you have a motion,
I motion to not read the prior minutes.
accept them without reading it. We have a motion to accept the prior minutes. Second, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, seeing no objections, that motion passes. We'll waive the reading of the minutes. As always, our meetings are recorded. You can go back and look at them. And if you request it, I think we can electronically produce a transcription if you prefer to get it in that format.
Meeting minutes, approved ones will be posted online on that.
Yes, they'll be posted online on Vantica. So with that, I want to move straight into Ed's report. Actually, sorry, let's go back for the executive meeting summary. If you recall from our last public meeting, we had a stack of unresolved disputes with homeowners, ARC violations, that sort of thing. And, we had fair warning. We began with courtesy letters, and a lot of things got resolved. We had some homeowners that didn't, so that process got started. We had 4 more homes that were accounts that were turned over to the attorneys. The positive side of that is that our accounts receivables is now 97.2 collected. So we have above average collections. Our cash flow is strong, and the board is not involved in these decisions. We've hired a professional management company. They do the determinations. We use an ARC, a professional ARC. The board's not involved, and we just run through this like a machine. I think it benefits the entire neighborhood. Before we move on to Ed, I want to turn it over to Mary to give us a legislative update of the laws that have passed in the regular session and the special session that are going to come into effect on September 1. How we're going to handle the required changes. Like in prior years, we're going to submit our budget to the community about 2 weeks before we vote on it. So I think this will be the 3rd budget cycle that we've done that. We'll have a comments period of at least 2 weeks, and this will all go out in a document to all the homeowners. But I believe the email for questions, concerns, additions, deletions to our budget will be budgets@pmrhoa.com, and they'll come into the review process. So there's going to be, in that budget packet, we're going to have some banking resolutions that are part of our continuity plan, and it's also to ensure that we can manage risk as we're making our trades and managing the funds. And then the 3rd packet that will be there will be the legislative updates that Mary's going to talk about. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mary. You can give us the discussion on the legislative outcomes.
Okay. So in 2025, we had new legislative changes that require HOAs to update their governing documents to ensure compliance with state laws. These laws are going to take effect September 1st of 2025. There was a bill number, Senate Bill 711, for requiring condo. It doesn't apply to Pine Mill. We have Senate Bill 711 regarding perimeter fence security fencing that does apply to Pine Mill. And then we have Senate Bill 711 architectural review committees that also applies to Pine Mill. We have Senate Bill 2629 electronic meetings and voting that does apply to Pine Mill. And then we have House Bill 621 political meetings in common areas that the attorney is recommending items on. And then we have House Bill 431 that requires solar roof tile. That actually is going into effect immediately. It's not going to be September 1st. It's actually immediately. And then we have House Bill 517 landscaping. So the attorney recommended, and the board is going to send this out, of course. We're hoping to send it out mid-August. So in regards to Senate Bill 711, the attorney has recommended action to create an ARC eligibility and solicitation policy and amend the security fences policy. So the association currently has some ARC policies, and so there's just some newly established solicitation process that he wants to incorporate in that policy. And then the association also has a security devices and a security fence policy. And so it's again, they're recommending amended to the existing policy to reflect the change. For House Bill,
Change there is you can no longer fence your front yard. There will be a restriction that you have to, be from the building line back or something like be added to the actual policy. And right now, you can't restrict someone from fencing their entire yard.
So you're saying if you want to fence your whole yard, we gotta do it right now? We're gonna have a run on ARC real fast.
yes, but they're probably going to be prolonged. So we also have House Bill 517. The recommended action is to amend the fine policy to include the limitations on residential watering restrictions. So there's that amendment that's not currently addressed in the existing policy. And then we have House Bill 621. The recommended action is to create a common area use policy. And then we have Senate Bill 2629. The recommended action is to amend the bylaws regarding electronic meetings. And then we have House Bill 431, and the recommended action is to amend the solar energy policy. Of course, this document, as the board said, will be sent out prior.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary. So we're going to have, no, I think we're going to, we'll have a comments period. Okay, so we're going to send that out. The lawyer has already prepared all of the language, and it was teed up for us to vote on it. But I think individuals would appreciate reading the changes to, and plus it's a notification to all of our homeowners that this is coming down the pike. And that gives everyone kind of a little bit of grace period to make sure that they're in compliance. So while I'm president, and the nature of this board, when the state of Texas passes laws, we follow them and we follow the spirit of the law. So we're not looking to do end runs around whatever the state of Texas has deemed appropriate and codified into law. Pine Mill Ranch is going to comply with it just on every single front. We're gonna, that's just our policy. So we're gonna follow that. I think we're about ready to move it over to Ed. I just have one comment for Beth. We have acquired a new corporate seal. Part of the reason we're making some banking resolutions is because of some things that have happened around us. And maybe Ed can talk about this at length if he chooses to, but a mud very near to us, only a couple miles away, I think they were embezzled for $7 million. And another HOA, I don't remember if it was the treasurer or one of their bookkeepers, managed to skim off hundreds of thousands of dollars. And we want to make sure that we're layering in additional controls. So hopefully that never happens in our environment. So when you see these board resolutions come across, know that we're responding to just the threats that we see in the community. So it's for no other reason than that. It's not a trust issue or a behavior issue or something that popped up in audit. We're just being proactive. Do you have anything to add to your report before we move on? Nope. All right. Seeing none, we will move it over to Mr. Ed, our treasurer, to give us a financial update.
On the screen is the financial management report. Our status year to date, we've had an income of $395,000 against expenses year to date at $285, netting us a surplus of $108,073. And that's actually ahead of what our plan, our budget of $31,000. In the analysis report, we'll talk about the fact that we had additional interest income that made that difference up in the surplus. The balance sheet, as you can see there, where our total assets are up to $3.6 million. Our total capital is 2.117, and you can see the way it's allocated below, with notes payable of 66,000. Retained earnings of 1.9 million and net income of 108,000 for this year so far. Our total assets have actually increased by 170,000 compared to the first quarter results from 2024. Oh, this is the wrong document.
Skip it and we'll put the next one in the document that goes out.
Yeah. So
Actually, hold for a moment.
Yeah.
Can you type? Are there any questions? Ask any questions.
yeah, I'll slide over. As far as our projects that we had planned for 2025, we've actually completed all of those projects. In addition to what we had been ongoing, we've at the splash pad, we've actually recently in the last week replaced the operator for the splash pad, as well as we've been working on the after hours gate operator. And I think we finally got that item completed and fixed. As far as community events, we've had our Chinese New Year. We had our Holy celebration in March at Easter eggs in the park, Eid al-Fitr. Recently, we had a 4th of July celebration that we had to pare down from our original plan, but we did have a children's parade and bike decorating contest. The fire department was here and led the parade. They were not unable to bring their safety pop-up building that they like to use because it teaches children about fire safety and fire safety in their home. What's left for the year, we 2 weeks ago, we had a blood drive. We have another blood drive coming up in August, and then we're looking forward to Christmas and Hanukkah.
Can you,
Do you want to?
do you want to talk about kind of what we're looking at for windmills, at least the process that we've got going and what potentially the exposure is?
Yeah. What Frank's asking about is one outstanding item that we're working on is back last year when we were decorating for Christmas, some of our workforce reported that there was some loose boards, some rot damage on the windmills. So it's taken some time to finally get in touch with a company that initially designed and installed those. Those are engineered items because they have to be capable of withstanding a wind load, as well as the operating of the windmill feature itself. So we finally have gotten in contact with the right company, right engineering company, and we're in the work right now of doing an inspection and coming up with a repair program to bring those things back up to their full operational status. But I would expect it's going to take I don't know, 2 to 3 months to
Yeah.
get that completed. But
Ideally, would like to have that fixed before Christmas because that's where we do decorations.
decorations again. Yeah.
But this isn't an easy project. There's only a limited number of organizations or institutions or whatever companies that will work on them and do it, and it has to be done right. You can't just hire someone who's never built one of these, and so we have to get into their cycle, or it will potentially affect our decorations on those towers this Christmas. We have no idea what the financial cost to the community is going to be, but I think we're prepared financially to withstand whatever that is, and it'll come off of our reserve study and into the future.
One of the things that I stopped the one that was on, that we picked up and put on so we should just use view it from the camera. Yeah. Things that Frank was speaking about is back in May, 6th of May, one of the mud districts in our area became victim of some fraudulent transfers of funds, and they lost $8.2 million. I think they've recovered, or they publicly said they recovered 3.8 million of that, but the rest of it they believe to be lost. So that along with other things got the board thinking about, questioning about what kind of protections do we have so that we couldn't suffer the same kind of a calamity. So what we want to talk about is what we have in place right now, and there's one piece that we'll talk about that we still have to complete. But as far as our accounts themselves, we're going to put in place a banking proclamation that has account restrictive covenants. So it will restrict how people can have online access and other issues, so that we can put stop gaps in place. If
that is very visible on camera, is there anything you can share out on your screen before I add it back to the stage to your
that didn't work before.
Let's try it. Yeah, well, Ed's trying to get that up on the screen. It's along the lines of what I discussed earlier. We're looking at how can we just layer in protections, right? So who can open an account, close an account? Can an account be retitled? What are the physical account numbers that money can move between without a board resolution allowing, other movement? So we're going to lock the bank up even tighter than we have, if you will, by using board resolutions to limit that. So if somebody went rogue, they wouldn't be able to perform the same kind of behaviors. From a advisory perspective, kind of what we were talking about earlier, we have today a professional property management, community management company. We have an auditor. We're looking at hiring inspectors. We're looking at redoing our reserve study process, which we may vote on today. I think we're close to being there, and creating a new calendar. So all of these external advisory services report back to us in June, so that when the new boards begin to produce their budgets, they have advice coming in. Our treasury management, we're considering going to a fee-based version of that. Today, we're doing that in-house. It's a lot of work. We're trading, $2-3 million, 6 times, 7 times a year, and we're rolling money over continuously. We're making money. It's a lot of work, but should we move that out of the board and into a service? So everywhere we can look at automating, we're looking at what's the cost of automation, so the board can be more of an oversight. You have it up? We're about to see.
This one, right? And look at the
Yeah, let's go ahead and move over to the right.
look on the screen. Is that correct?
Just click on forward. No, that's the end of it. One thing that he skipped over in his presentation was, I think we've gotten our tennis court reservations ironed out. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Good. Well, why don't we do this? Because this is really informative to the neighborhood. I'm sharing with you, our personal vision that we want to put in new guardrails, additional advisory services to make sure that we're able to continue with this kind of performance that we've had. We do have one motion on the floor that's going to come up. We have, I think we've selected the Elon's reserve study. What's the name of that company? Reserve Advisors. And so we're, instead of having a static reserve study and then we do another one in 2 or 3 years, we're going to do a ground up reserve study. So they're going to begin with nothing. So from the ground up, they're going to do a new reserve study for us. Association Reserves is the name of the company. And then each of the next 2 years, they're going to give us the changes and additions, and they'll be coordinating with our inspectors and our maintenance providers, our scheduled maintenance, so that we have a tighter integration between costs that are flowing in and our savings, how we save for those events. Like Ed showed earlier, our forecasting has been pretty right spot on for the last couple of years. We're laying down a budget and we're sticking to it. And part of the magic of doing that is we go and look for every expense that's going to come in next year. And we try and figure that out so that we're not flying blind. It's a lot of work, and we're humans and we're volunteers. So we just, having done it for a few years, we recognize the need to have outside advisory services, because we have, as the community ages, we have to prepare for bigger and bigger replacements into the future of our pools, or just the fences, the brick walls. So we have to prepare today for what's coming tomorrow. Are you ready? One more second. Well, okay. While she's downloading it, I'm going to hand it back to Ed. Whatever I left off, he can add back in. I think I've covered most of it. Or if you want, while she's doing that, we could vote on association reserves if you wish. Yeah. If you want to put a motion on the floor with a not to exceed, that way we can do the final negotiations. Okay.
The motion, as a preface to the motion, we Infomark solicited 4 companies that are in the reserve space. We received proposals from all 4. We reviewed those proposals and went to 2 as a short list, and then we had face-to-face meetings with those 2 companies to learn more about their companies, their background, one of the things that we learned in the first meeting was that there are companies out there that focus strictly more predominantly on condominiums and high rises rather than single family residencies. It has to do with their location. If they're in Michigan, there's more high rises and condos, or Florida, there's more than single family. So anyway, we interviewed two and we shortlisted the one Frank was speaking about, association reserves. So I'd like to make a motion to the board that we accept a proposal from association reserves on the proposal that they made as a loyalty program, which includes 3 years of services. The first year is a full reserve study, and then 2 years of updates, so that we can maintain that with a vision that they will work as partners with Infomark in building our annual budgets. So I'd make that our cost will not exceed $7,000, or make it $8,000, and we're still subject to negotiating the final agreement.
Okay, any objections? Seeing none, motion passes.
I was switching them at one time, but I can't. Go to keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going.
Go back then to where it said financial protections.
I don't think she got there yet. Keep going. It must not have all uploaded. Anyway,
You can read from it if there's anything we left off you want
Yeah.
to discuss.
just open it over here. If I make this full size, can we view it from the camera? Can't see it. The thing about financial, as I started, we have protections. We put protections in place. Some of them are standard about logging into the accounts. We have passwords with authentication codes to protect. So we have two forms. As far as transactions, we actually have a contract with our Treasury Bank, and in that contract, we could restrict that monies can only be transferred between two specific bank accounts with Alliance Bank, which is the Infomark Bank, and the two bank accounts that we have at Bank of Uvalde.
What if you explain why we're doing that?
So we're restricting the banks that they can go to, so that if someone were to hack into the account, they can't order a wire transfer to another bank, like an offshore bank or my bank or whatever. So anyone that either works for Infomark or works in a treasury role, or anyone else on the board, can't hack into that account and wire transfer monies to any other account other than those that are operating accounts that are the Alliance account for Infomark. So
Yeah.
only to the property manager.
So I meant why we have two banks. So let me explain
we
to
have
you
two
why.
banks.
Yeah, why we have two banks.
We have two banks because in the property management world, they are partnered with a bank that is generally a boutique bank that only services property management companies. They don't have general over-the-counter personal accounts. It's all a business accounts associated with HOAs and high rises. So they're structured to do payroll, to do payment of invoices, all those kinds of processing things, as well as they protect your money, your funds, by sweep account, what's called sweep account. So they'll distribute your funds across multiple banks in order to keep it all under FDIC limits of 250,000. But you pay for those services. And in general, the way you pay is like right now, treasury bills are over 4%, but you only getting 0.5% on any money that they hold, because that differential is a cost of all of that services that are wound up in that space called property management. So what we've done is we've taken all of our surplus funds that we don't need to operate day to day, and we put them in a different bank, a bank that traditionally is a business and personal financial processing. And we found a bank that actually provides us in our trust accounts. So we have regular bank accounts, and we have to do wire transfers, and then we have a majority of our money in trust funds.
Yeah, let me make an interjection here. So
Yeah.
this is an old oil bank, Bank of Vivaldi, and they deal with high wealth deposits, and they have a trust account. And so we're moving money in and out. We're changing from, pure liquidity of cash to upstairs in their treasury department. And then they buy Texas Independence Bank has a window, access to the federal markets. And so we're buying T-bills, and that's part of the complicated part of what we're doing from a treasury management perspective is we're anticipating future cash flows, and then we're buying instruments with the highest yield. Some are 6 months, some are 4 weeks. We figure all of that out, what we need to have mature when, and we're trying to squeeze every nickel and dime that we can out of unused funds, because we get all of our money at the first of the year, but we spend it later in the year. So it's like we got $1 million. Like, what do you do with $1 million? We're going to make money on that $1 million rather than let us sit there and make nothing. In fact, we made so much money that you can see we're black. This is 2 years in a row that we've had outstanding success by buying and selling T-bills with excess funds, if that makes sense. You ready, Ed?
Oh, sorry, we're trying to get this up for you.
Okay, so that's
Talking, Frank.
yeah. So we're not messing around with three, banks because we're trying to hide money or move it around. We are trying to squeeze every nickel and dime out of that. And Infomark has access to all of the reporting that comes out of those banks. So Infomark we're not producing the balance sheet, for instance, that's on the screen. Infomark is. So they're working directly off of, they handle the bank reconciliation. Do you want to describe that, Mary? The process?
For
our bank reconciliation with T-bills and the rest of it.
Okay, so anytime there's invoices or anything that's processed and APs, homeowners, payments that comes through, there's a process. So we have a accounting department that works strictly with that. I help the accounting department on approving invoices that come in. So when the invoices come in, some are automatic drafts. So you need to reconcile those to the debits that are coming out of the bank automatically. So I approve that invoice, send it to the accounting department. The accounting department covers that and reconciles the funds. There are homeowners that have prepaid assessments. And so when they prepay the assessments, our budget goes to where it's prepaid, or if they're prepaid long-term, the accounting department processes it per the monthly budget. So we have it broken down into a monthly budget. So every month, there's a certain amount of funds that come out from the assessments that have already been distributed by the month, and they go out to fund the month. So the accounting department, Tracy Andrade is our accounting rep. She works really well with Pine Mill Ranch. And then Mary Baker is the invoicing side. So both of them are very well in touch with everything. And if there's any processes additionally needed, that's approval, then we come to the board and we ask the board, we need this, or we don't have this. And that's why we do a yearly audit. So we also do the Pine Mill Ranch also does the yearly audit. So when that yearly audit is done, they also fine tooth and comb the financials as well to see what Infomark missed on the reconciliation process, what backup and documentation is needed.
Thank you. And so, and one thing where you might see a small aberration in our books is for accrued interest. So the way that T-bills work, you buy them at a discount. So $1,000 T-bill you might buy for $960 or something, and when it matures, you get $1,000. So that $40, I think Infomark isn't banking it or booking it until it matures. So at any given time, there's probably some unrecorded interest because there are so many transactions. And Ed can answer the question, like on any given day, he may buy 100 to 300 to 500 T-bills or more every month. And so there's probably always an unrecorded accrued interest, but that would just be a ton of work. But every time they mature or we cash them out on that day, Infomark will record the interest earned. You ready, Ed?
Sorry for the technical difficulty. We were talking about electronic transfers or wire transfers between our accounts, and we've put in place these contractual requirements with the bank that says thou shalt not transfer money other than to these accounts by a specific number. As far as wire transfers themselves, let's say that Frank went in and decided he wanted to wire transfer money to the Bahamas. Well, the first thing is you'd have to send an email, and if it didn't come from me, then it would get rejected. But if he broke into my account and did send it with me, then when they call, and verify a voice, they're going to say, you don't sound like Ed, you sound like Fred, so we're not going to give it to you. And then unless he broke further into my account and learned what the PIN code is, he doesn't have the PIN code if he had my voice. So yeah. So we've put those things in place now. So we have quadruple authentication going on with those funds to attempt everything we can to prevent someone from either hacking or fraudulently moving those funds. We have, I'm sure that inside of Alliance Bank and inside of Infomark, there's appropriate procedures and protocols in place to protect those funds. But our move on to the next page. Give you some idea this is what our strategy looks like, on a month-to-month basis. We maintain a consolidated balance with the property managed bank of around $250,000, which is actually 2.5 months of operating cost.
And the FDIC limit.
And it hits the FDIC limit. And in like this case, there's currently $280,000, and it's all protected because $80,000 has been swept into another bank, and so it's still FDIC insured. So if Alliance Bank went under, we'd get the $250 at that bank, and the other bank, we could still have our money sitting in the checking account of $80,000. So that's covered.
That was always the case, by the way.
Yeah, when
We got here 3 years ago, that was not the case. It is now.
So in our treasury management bank, which is Bank of Uvalde, we have two things. I said we have a consolidated banking accounts because we have to mirror the bank accounts that Alliance has. So they have an operating account and a reserve bank account. So we have an operating account and a reserve account. And they have funds, and the total of those two is $250,000. So we're at the FDIC limit. Then within the investment trust, that's where our big bucks are. We have almost $3 million sitting in there in cash. But it's in the form of US T-bills, and right now our average is around 4.15 to 4.17. We actually budgeted at 2.5% because we are anticipating a decline in FDIC rates, but that hasn't happened. The other plus is that inside of the investment trust bank, part of the bank, their money market account pays the same as the T-bills. So we get 4.15% on that $56,000, even though it's not in a T-bill. We put them into T-bill because T-bills are outside of, it's like having stocks. So if I have a stock, the only thing that can happen is the company can go out of business, but if the stockbroker goes bankrupt, I still have my stock, right? It's in my name, it's my stock. So it's the same kind of thing. U.S. Treasury is 100% backed by the government, and it's separate from FDIC. So we can take all that money and protect it by putting it in T-bills. We're
not paying the sweep account fee.
Yeah, there's no sweep account. So we make 4.15, and it costs us around 0.3% a month to maintain those accounts. So we're still very net positive. And we will, as a board, we will never invest in anything but 100% protected government-backed securities, because there's all kinds of other offerings out there. We not touch any of that stuff. So that's what this all looks like from a management side. And the only piece now that we are still working on to put in place is a bank proclamation that will further restrict the bank from actively doing anything that would maybe get us into a fraudulent situation.
And then can you describe like the month closing between Inframark and Uvalde TIB T-bills? How does it all roll up every month into our accounting system?
Yeah, the bank accounts close once a month. So at the end of every month, you get a financial statement. The investment trust accounts is like your portfolio that you have with some investment company, and they only close quarterly. So what happens, like Frank was saying, is because they don't close, we don't get a statement, an official statement to do accounting work against, except on a quarterly basis. So in between the quarter closes, we have income in terms of interest and some unrealized earnings, but it's not reported. We're not reporting it until we have an official statement that the accounting can be closed against. So,
the T-bill, just not the interest income.
yeah. But if there's, like your example, if you bought $1,000 T-bill and you paid $960, if that closed during the month and you got back 40 additional dollars, which are considered unearned, they're not reported until the end of the quarter. So we're out of. That's one of the unfortunate things between the types of accounts, is one's quarterly and one's monthly. But yeah. So let's see. Let's go back. I'm going to turn this back over to you. I think this is the.
We're getting to the end of it. I mean, I would just like to open it up for questions. I had two other items. If when we get to these last two motions, okay, that's for the disentanglement. Yeah, so let me describe what we have, and we've mentioned this in prior meetings, and we've finally gotten close to a resolution. So, for instance, the HOA bought a fence on land that we don't own. So there's a variety of problems, right? You have to have an encroachment agreement. You have a maintenance agreement. The HOA legally isn't allowed to spend money on things outside of the metes and bounds of the HOA. So that was a deviation that should never have happened. And then we have, like, for instance, the pier is on the mud lake, and we have a park that is on mud property that we bought the equipment for. And so in order for the HOA to legally spend money to maintain these things, we need to have a maintenance agreement like we would a contract with somebody to make it legal. And we have to do it in an open meeting and that sort of thing. So we have a variety of agreements. We still have more to iron out. It's a negotiation with the mud. And some of these things were at a disadvantage. And so negotiations have been happening slowly, right? Because we're trying to unscramble something from a prior decisions that were made by the board without dotting the I's and crossing the T's. And so I think we have some language that's ready to be voted on. Is that accurate, Ed?
Yeah, we do have a maintenance agreement in hand that was presented to us from the Mud District. We've reviewed that, and legal has reviewed it. There's some additions that need to be made, but in principle, we're agreeable to the agreement as it's been proposed by the Mud District.
Can you summarize it rather than read the whole thing?
Yeah, the maintenance agreement gives us the authority to operate and maintain the fishing pier and the fountains that are located on mud property. Our requirements under this maintenance agreement is we would repair, replace, renew, and demolish any of those items that exist on their property. And the Mud District defines those things as amenities and not part of their primary operations, which are water, sewer, and stormwater retention and garbage. So anything that doesn't fit those three categories is an amenity to them. So we've agreed, since we've been technically doing this for years without the proper authority, this is really an agreement to just make it official so that now we're in the right.
So the question is, are we creating a new liability for the HOA?
There's no new liability.
There's no new liability.
Right.
We're doing the same thing that we've been doing. I guess we could say we were going to stop maintaining it, but then the mud wouldn't be obligated to maintain the pier, for instance. And we're due for an inspection, like, because we can't see into the water. So who's going to do that, right? So if the board is going to spend, I mentioned earlier that this board will always comply with the laws. So when we went back and looked at spending, for instance, that was outside of the metes and bounds of the HOA, it threw up a red flag that we had to resolve. Like, how can we spend money that we're not authorized to spend? So these events, these maintenance agreements are codifying and memorializing the things that we're supposed to do. And then in turn, it gives us authorization for use of funds, if that makes sense. So if you want to put a motion to accept the language that's already there, and Beth, if we get a request for the reading of it, we'll read it. But if not, no requests, then if you'll just make a motion to adopt.
So I
the
make a
language.
motion to accept the maintenance agreement as published by the Mud 57. There are subject to some slight modifications that have to be done before we can sign the agreement, but I make a motion that we accept that agreement in principle.
Except,
You have a second?
yes.
Okay, so we're going to send that out in the packet as well. But that won't be subject to comments because obviously I already voted on it. Once we enter an agreement, it's done. But we'll send out the full language so that the community knows what it is. So are there any objections to the motion on the floor?
No objections.
Okay,
No.
so in the case, motion passes.
Agreed. The last item, along with the Mud 57 disentanglement, is we're going to do some land swaps so that we can consolidate the property ownership right here at the clubhouse. Right now, as an example, the parking lot and as Frank mentioned, the playground, the pavilion, the area adjacent to the pool where the flag sits, that's all mud property. So if we do the land swap, we're going to swap the property that we have at the entrances in lieu of that. So the thought behind that is we can consolidate ownership of this, which gives us clarity and control of and making rules and regulations about the use of this property. We exchange that with property at the entrances, which is predominantly landscaping. So now the mud then would have control of all the landscaping and be very consistent through the whole neighborhood, because now they own basically all the property that has the majority of the landscaping. So that's the logic behind. We will have another maintenance agreement after that happens to allow us to do Christmas decorations and to be able to operate and maintain the windmill and the water feature that's there. But that'll have to come after we actually officially transfer the title.
So I'll tell you the net for the HOA. We're going to take a haircut on fixing the windmills. That's on us. The HOA owns them. They're in disrepair. It's going to cost us whatever it's going to cost us. If it's going to bankrupt, we might ask the neighborhood, do you really want windmills? But if we do, we're going to have to pay to get them fixed before we hand them off to somebody, because they're not going to accept a asset in disrepair that they have to fix. So we're on the hook for that. Parking lots, the sewers that are in front of our building, that is absolutely a future liability for the HOA, and it can be a lot of money, right? So, we have kicked around, do we really want this parking lot? Because parking lots are expensive. But I think we should do it. It's our parking lot, right? So, we could try and be cheap and skate around it and leave it on their books, but it really is our parking lot, and we should be the one taking care of it. I can imagine in 15 years or 25 years, whatever the date is, we're going to have a big bill to replace those storm sewers or something that are in our parking lot. That's going to be expensive, but we can reserve for that. It's not something that we can't manage, but it is going to be a future liability. Do you want to put a motion on the floor for those, or do we already do it? We have to wait to do that? Okay. I think that brings us to the bottom of your report. Is that correct? All right. Are there any questions for Ed? This is really a financial update. Are there any questions for our treasurer?
My question is the swim team still donating to the HOA like they promised? The swim team.
Question is concerning the swim team. We have a contract, an annual contract with the swim team, and there's no money exchange between us. We agree to, allow them. We have what's called a use agreement with the swim team, so they can come in and they have their swim team practices. They hold multiple events that are on a calendar that we agree to. And they agree to certain things about, maintaining and cleaning and keeping things orderly. We also, inside of that agreement, we have agreements that only teams that belong to the whale organization can come here and be part or parcel to a swim team event. The reason for that is the insurability and liability insurance for these swim teams is provided through the whale organization. So if we allowed some other third-party swim team came in that was uninsured, right, or didn't have proper insurance, then it would be a liability for us. But to answer your question, we have no financial
Well, that was not the
exchange.
agreement when they first started the team.
Yeah.
You know that?
No, didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Because I've been, well, originally when they started, they said to help maintain the pool because, you know, it's a lot of wear and tear with them. And they were going to donate, I don't know, I forget how much it was. They're going to pay something to donate to help maintain the pool. Okay? Now, I don't know why you guys, even when Lisa was here, she used to make them, I don't know, she made them pay. Okay, that's the whole thing.
Yeah, something that was never, been part of, 2 years to the contract agreement between the swim team and the HOA. There was never any mention of any financial.
And nothing was transferred.
So we didn't have.
That was real management. Yeah,
We didn't get a lot of things.
yeah. Well, she used to get money from that. I don't know how much it was, but I feel they should be paying something.
So
The
I
use
think
of the pool.
here's what I think. I think I would like to do if I'm going to play Solomon. I think we should ask them what the census is, because it's my understanding that most of the swim team are PMR children, and if it's a high PMR ratio of homeowners, I mean, we're not paying for the lifeguard expense, and it's a benefit to our neighborhood. I'm comfortable. We don't need their money to operate. But if it's primarily kids are paying to be on the swim team who aren't Pine Mill Ranch kids, then I think by all means we should look at either ending them or charging them.
Originally, they were only supposed to, the first year, they allowed kids from Silver Ranch to join the team. After that, it was supposed to be only Pine Mill Ranch kids.
Okay, so we can, yeah, I mean, that's
I'm sure because the swim team sometimes, if they don't have enough kids, they're going to allow other kids to come
They
in.
may.
Yeah,
so, but I mean,
and they're going to be using the pool. Hey, look, I don't use the pool anymore. My
Right.
grandson is.
same, our
Yeah.
kids. Let me just ask the 2 other board members that are here right now. Does that seem reasonable? If this is primarily a swim team for our kids, are you comfortable letting it ride as it is? Yes, yes,
Yeah, I think the HOA is here to support the families of Pine Mill Ranch.
right.
And as long as we're, supporting the families of Pine Mill Ranch, they can hear me.
Okay.
As long as we're supporting the families of Pine Mill Ranch primarily, then I'm okay with the HOA supporting their efforts. If it's that we're bringing in, families that aren't part of the neighborhood, then we should definitely.
Yeah, if this is turned into a revenue stream for somebody and then we're not getting a piece of the pie, then,
It's not
then
a question of getting money from them.
right.
It's, if they have kids from out of here that are using the pool, I don't think they should be able to just to skate along. And,
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. That's what I'm saying. If it's
I mean, I've looked at the whale organization. They now have like 6 different districts now. I think the one that Pine Mill Ranch is in, there's 6 teams. And I think the only neighborhood that I don't recognize is possibly Cardiff Ranch, because they're smaller, that their kids may be part of our team, but I don't know that for a fact. But we can find that information out and publish it.
Yeah, let me make one other comment. I've even forgotten about it, because this is the first year that Avalon at Pine Mill Ranch is paying a amenity use fee to us. So each of the houses in the gated community across the street, I think they pay us $250 a door or something, or to get access to our tennis courts, pools, and events. And so if we find, I think at one time there was something in place for Cardiff as well. We want to make sure that our amenities are first and foremost available to homeowners. So we'll look at that, right? If we're carrying Cardiff kids in our neighborhood, we'll do the same thing that we did across the street.
well, I have Lisa Presley's number. I'll give her a call one day and find out if they would give her any donations or whatever
Sure.
towards the pool.
Okay. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Number 2, did anyone look into about the stop signs along Pine Mill Drive?
Yep. Stop signs. Yeah, that was on me.
Oh, okay.
So Chad Norville was originally scheduled to be here for the 4th of July. Beth had met with him earlier. I ended up being in the hospital, and I had 2 stents put in after. I was just out, and I did not get it done. So but
I'm sorry, who are you supposed to meet?
Chad Novell, the constable.
Okay, no, the guy in charge of the,
Andy Myers is
it
the
used to be Andy, but
Now it's
Terry Wright. Terry Wright?
or Victor Morales.
Victor Morales.
Well, if he's the one in charge of all the stop signs, but this guy Jerry Wright came out, he said, not true.
So what they like to do in Fort Bend County's, it's really difficult to get stop signs and also speed bumps. We've visited this several times with them. They want to do roundabouts, but where they would like to put a roundabout would be detrimental because people can't even drive on the straight streets, much less the round streets in that area, and it's right next to the splash pad.
Well, the whole idea was when the developer, Michael Kim, he says that's a mistake. First of all, it's a splash pad right there. Yeah, that's a no-brainer. You got kids going back and forth. A lot of kids can't go across it, but these idiots going down 50, 60 miles an hour. Plus, yeah.
Well, when we have year after year gone to the county about this, and the only thing they've offered us is a roundabout, not a stop sign in that area. They've done studies. They say, and I live very close to there. I hear them. I watch them. And so I'm on the same page as you are, but we've tried and tried and tried. And we do not want, I personally don't want a roundabout there because it's going to really injure a child in that area.
Andy Myers, he gets a kickback from that.
Well, Andy, I actually lobbied and got groups of moms together that we were going to sit outside his front door of his house in Sugar Land if he was going to try to put a roundabout there.
Well, if you look at Texas Heritage, you got 10 of them there.
Roundabouts? Yeah, I know.
Yes.
Yeah, that there are monies to be had with roundabouts because it's considered eco-friendly, and so there are monies that are to be distributed from that. I'm just leaving that where that is.
My suggestion is to try to get those stop signs. What is this, Turtle Canyon? Right over here, right before the pool. That street and Pine Mill Landing. Because when school starts, you got all these mothers, you got all these mothers rushing to drop the kids off because they're late. And they're doing 50 miles an hour. Yeah. Right. And there's many times I try to get out of Pine Mill Lane and then the left. Can't get it. It's impossible. And that stupid sign, pedestrians, that thing is a waste. Yes. I don't know who put that in there, but that's idiotic. Because it's so confusing. Some people stop, some people don't.
Well, I mean, as you know, the HOA doesn't own that land. It's a public road. We can lobby, but it's beyond the scope of the HOA. Besides lobbying, we don't have a lot of power to make that happen. But
I understand.
we're going to keep trying because I agree with you. A kid is going to get hurt.
Well, that kids already gotten hurt. There's been tons of accidents over there because people don't know whether.
If you have a list of accidents, if you can send that to us.
I don't. You'd have to get that from me.
We can get that.
All right.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay.
I know, Ed, you mentioned about not being here, I don't know, maybe the next term or whatever, but what about kind of the person that's going to come and take your place, like, is there something in place, or you're trying to, think about how you will keep all what you are doing, keep it in place, y'all are doing an amazing job,
Yeah, so I mean that's what we're doing. So I mean when I talked about the things that we're doing, like creating a new calendar for inspections and for reserve studies and how we're going to handle treasury management. So before Ed stepped into this role, I helped build a lot of the processes that then he took over. So if need be, I think I could slip back into that role. I'll be honest with you, I don't like being a treasurer. I hate repetitive tasks, but I can read a P&L like like sheet music. I'm very quick with numbers. I've ran businesses, can figure out the balance sheet and the fund accounting. So we are going to have a solution. But I wanted to make the announcement today because we want to start looking for a new treasurer that has a treasurer background. Does that answer your question?
Oh yeah, that's what
Neighbor down the street that's be interested in.
yeah. I just appreciate what y'all have done. So, it's like, how do you get somebody else to kind of step in there,
One last remark to make. On the greenways, like on Pine Mill Landing and along here on Drive, I see people walking their dogs, letting their dogs go on the lawn and not picking it up. I think we have some signs that say, clean up after yourself, because I see them in other subdivisions. Especially, I mean, they're not expensive. I'm sure you got to make it cheap. But a lot of these people just.
Make a proposal to the mud district and
That would
see
be
if they'd
nice.
be willing to do that.
You know what? If you would attend a mud meeting and ask them to,
Yeah.
we're already business entities, so we're not going to decide on the property. Maybe the fourth Monday of every month.
Meets monthly in the clubhouse at 9 a.m. on the fourth Monday of every month. And they'd be glad for you to show up and to ask them.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Well, I've been tied up, so I can't do too much right now, and I got to go to rehab. But I think that's important because if you walk by that, just to walk by it, I mean, the odor is terrible. To get some of these people to clean up after their dogs.
Well, if you see somebody, take a picture. Send it to them.
All right, yell out the window, clean up after yourself.
Any other questions, comments, concerns?
haven't had a mic on this time, by the way.
All right.
Those are okay. We can't talk about these.
No, these proposals here?
We can't
We've already
disclose
approved
the
them.
dollar value.
Okay,
That's not public.
we don't have to do the dollar amount, but we have we've accepted a proposal for turf repair and one for swing set repair and power washing our playground equipment. And this same firm, I think we're going to enter into a new agreement with them to do quarterly inspections. This is probably something we should have always been doing. That playground equipment gets a lot of use, and every time that we get around to inspecting it, we come up with a long list of things, and we need to not make it a board or Infomark responsibility because it requires specialized inspection. So I think by the next time that we meet, we will already have a contract in place for quarterly inspections, and then we will write the check to maintain the gear. Okay. Yes, yes. Yeah, so the question was, do we have inspectors riding around? The answer is yes. But when we're talking about inspectors, we're not referring to Infomark's inspectors for violations. We're talking about like structural engineers, playground engineers, the water treatment for the fountains, electricians, plumbers, or HVAC. We're going to get, so we were at one time, the board was reactive. Something breaks, we fix it. And then we came along and we started looking at things and they were like, okay, a lot of things are like barely hanging on or they're actually not safe. We had ungrounded power at the side of the pool. There was an electrical box that had rusted out where kids were standing on it. There were just tons of things, fencing that was in disrepair that you may not have noticed when you drove by. So we spent 2 years, almost 3 years, going through and just fixing stuff. But to keep the place managed going forward, we're going to try and have agreements set up with specific inspectors, like who inspects a windmill of our nature, right? You got to find the right kind of person. Who's going to inspect that pier, under the water, specialized person. So when we say inspectors, we're referring to something separate from what Infomark does. Structural, electrical, civil, whatever, mechanical. Yeah. So yeah. So we gotcha. So right. So public roads. So we don't have enforceability on public spaces. So that's part of the problem. So we can have a policy, but there's no teeth behind it. We don't have control over, just like we don't have control over mudland, we don't have control over the road. So we do what we can do. So what's not probably visible to you as a homeowner is what we have gotten accomplished. So we started off with inspections. They became increasingly more strict, I suppose is the right word. We went through a deliberate period, a cleanup period. We were sending out courtesy letters, and then we eventually started doing 209 letters. And I think at our last meeting, we turned over, I don't know how many, a stack.
Yeah, we turned over a lot of deed restriction
Yes. So
and collections.
Yeah. So we did not want to start off by when you go into an exercise program, you don't want to do it all at once. We started off with the neighborhood being nice, and now we've sent out dozens and dozens of accounts that have been turned over to lawyers. So, and we had one this in the executive session is like, hey, I didn't know about it. And we're like, we can't talk to you anymore because it's now in the lawyer's hands. And so I want you to know this board is enforcing everything. Okay. But we spent some time making sure that everybody had plenty of time to get on board. But we're past that now. And there was no discussion today. It was like, did they get the letters? Did they ignore them? Was it turned over? Then it's no longer in our domain. Well, there's a larger number of rental properties here too, and that presents a challenge for our property management company.
Properties that are not being mowed or landscaping maintained.
Mary, can you speak to that, the process that it takes? in order to
Also,
get-
where we've done forced,
I can actually.
we did some forced actions, did we not, last?
Force mode,
Force mode.
yeah.
So when I say we've taken a more aggressive stance, maybe aggressive isn't the right word. We've taken a more balanced approach. What we were hired to do, what we were elected to do, we're doing, including forced mowings where they show up with a constable and somebody that's expensive as hell. And so that stuff is happening. And I think to the extent that it continues to happen, you're going to see compliance rise. So where we do have control, like a front yard, the nice letters those days are over. And now we're in, here's your bill. Here's your so once it lands in the lawyer's desk, you're looking at $2,000-$3,000 because you didn't take care of your business. And we deliberated about it, right? And so we spent months getting there, but we did. Let me let Mary comment on that because she's got the numbers.
Okay. So there is a process for the deed restriction violations. So we send out courtesy notices. We do a courtesy notice, and the courtesy notice period usually is 30 days. Sometimes we can escalate it within 2 weeks, depending on the matter of the violation. Then we have a reminder notice, and then same process, usually 30 days, but we can escalate it a little sooner if it's a more severe item. And then we are forced by statutory requirements to send a 209 notice to the homeowner. That 209 notice has some verbiage on it. If you have military relief or if you're requesting the hearing, that is required to go out. So it goes out, and that is a 30-day demand notice. So that homeowner has 30 days from that point to respond to the association. If they do not respond to the association in any form or fashion, then it is presented to the board for further enforcement. The board will then look at the violation, see if it's a nature to go to the attorney. Once it goes to the attorney has the same statutory requirements. Violations, since the moratorium did expire, they have been picked up. There's been multitude of numbers of letters sent, sometime at 40% of letters sent, 20% of letters sent, and then one of them was 6% because we were trying to be a little less aggressive at that moment because we were seeing a multitude of the postage and stuff, and we wanted to be wary of the homeowners because I believe there was a storm or something that happened. So we were trying to not impose that many. So it went down from a 40% to a 6%.
Let me ask you this question. Has the board decided not to do an enforcement that you've brought to us in the last 6 months?
No, the board has fully enforced any enforcement actions for collections or deed restrictions for any account unless there is a substantial matter that the homeowner did respond and requested additional time, or if it was a simple violation that we were like, we're not going to pursue this in court.
Yeah, but in either case, we've had 100% enforcement for probably all of 2025. If they're in the driveway, it's being handled. Okay, if it's in you may not see what's happening, but it's happening. And once the lawsuit starts, that's okay. But the legal fees are racking up. Yeah, we don't have the authority to have no overnight parking on a public road. So if that's a parking lot in a developed community, they may have that power. We don't have that power. So I'll give you an example. On Tuesday nights, soccer's played at the park at Evans Mill, and we have a problem. It's a public park with people parking on both sides of the road, such that a fire truck can't get through. But we don't have the power to prevent them from parking on both sides of the road, and that's a problem. We can't put those up. The county, they're not there. No. Yeah.
There's some at the splash pad.
So, I mean, if we can get some in, we're going to do that. I don't think we're going to do no overnight parking throughout the entire. I don't think we could even get it done because we're not platted that way.
No overnight parking requires us to have a
Gate.
no. We have to do a petition. we have to do have 51% of the owners sign a petition in the neighborhood to be able to petition the county's commissioner court to
make that happen.
give us that authority.
And I'm not sure how we would even get 51% of that.
Hire people to go
Canvas.
because it requires a wet signature on a piece of paper as a petition.
We've only got 2 people being online,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't have a lot of, right. And I look at this, maybe it's a good thing that people are happy with us, but we'd like more involvement, obviously. Speaking of which, on the end of our agenda, we are looking for volunteers for Christmas planning. Once again, we're putting out the request because we have 1.5 years left of our debt servicing, and we've kicked around, how much we're going to increase our budget for Christmas, but no one has come forward to want to drive that. And so
we have reached out to folks who have either shown interest or complained during meetings. I volunteer a lot in a lot of different areas with schools and with nonprofits and all sorts of things. If you do not offer your services, your complaints are falling on my deaf ears. I'm just putting it out there. That's my personal opinion. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the point is, we are looking for volunteers for Christmas decorations for the Christmas Decor Committee. We have a budget. We have money to spend. We even offered someone, give them the debit card, let them go to town and let us know what you want to buy. Here's your budget. And they didn't return any of our calls or emails. So, we really do need volunteers. I'm actually working my job right now while we're in this meeting and paying attention. So we are all volunteers and we do need help. And if you're, not going to participate, then, please smile as you drive by.
But it's hard to keep doing. Yeah, so if there are no more questions, and by the way, I appreciate all the questions. We need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Do a second. Any objections? No objections. Mary, if you would, please make a note of the following in our budget packet that we're going to send out. We're going to send out the budget. We're going to send out language for the banking resolutions. We're going to send out the completed legislative changes from this last Texas session. We are going to send out, there was a document, some language that you had, MUN 57 agreement. Was there anything else that we owe? Okay, so we're going to try and, we're going to get our budget done, but we're going to try and, what's the date that we're looking for? September 1?
We're hoping by September 1, we're going to skip a quarterly meeting and go to a earlier meeting and
Okay.
have it in September.
In September, we're going to do it. Try and get this done in September. Whether it slips forward or backwards, I assure you we're on top of our numbers. We're not blind as to what's moving in and out of this organization. So, all right. All right. Thank you. Have a good night.